free will is under assault. This is what they'll have us believe when they try to ensnare us in false paradigms, in illusions, in scientific materialism, void of spirit. And when we run such scripts within our minds and we code our bodies with these illusory programs, then we convince ourselves that we are not free. And we essentially weave that idea, weave that belief, that reality-generating belief into our bodies. Now I am stepping into a remembrance of the medicine which I am here to offer. And that medicine is free will. Because all of the ways in which free will is under assault, in which freedom is suppressed, ultimately at their metaphysical root, these confinements are illusory. And they only come into actualization insofar as we come into consent with them. So much of the work that I've been doing in the confrontation of my pains, in the confrontations of my shadows, in the confrontations of my wounds, in the patterns of avoidance which I've woven into my being, is to witness and to feel the imprints of the choices which I have made in my life, which have coded and cultivated unfreedom into my will, into my body, into my being, into my heart. And I was speaking of my mind yesterday, and mind more generally. And I am witnessing and remembering within the mind the ability to choose, the ability to write the scripts and rewrite the scripts, decondition, recondition. This is not mind merely, this is mind realigned with soul and body and heart, which is needed to then activate that spiritual fire that chooses the direction of the reality which is going to be created with one's will. Now I have long spent my life, lived my life, speaking about freedom, praising freedom, idealizing free will as the solution to all of my problems and to all of humanity's problems. Meanwhile, I was engaging in the very behaviors which were suppressing my soul, my freedom, my mind, my heart, my body. And quite frankly, I am still doing this. I am still witnessing patterns within myself where there is a certain ideal, there is a certain level of willpower which I wish to invoke to change and redirect and guide my life and reorient towards the divine. And while I have done a tremendous amount of shedding, and I've cut out so many sources of unfreedom and paralysis and imprisonment, there are still persistent roots and weeds and ghosts and illusions trying to cling. Whereupon, I am tuning into my mind's ability to step into its power and to call forth its power and to call forth the power of the soul and to call forth the power of God and of the heart and of the body. There are little bugs trying to come and bite my flesh right now. Symbolic representations of these ghosts, these little parasitic constructs, which will try and try and try to weigh freedom down by way of that freedom's consent. But I am realizing that there is a certain level of warriorship and intolerance that truly needs to be cultivated and invoked with crystal clear devotion that says no longer will these ghosts and these parasites and these illusions be within a field of consensuality with my field. Consensuality being a sensuous form of existence, that is a materialization that is together, consensuality. The materialization of illusion, which has somehow tried to weave itself into my will and into my life, I am realizing my mind has the ability to choose to simply renounce. And in a world where false paradigms are trying to tell us of the illusory nature of our freedom and are actually trying to rewrite the metamythological narrative of our being, rewrite the quantum structure of the past, with new scripts built on falsity and deceit, the importance of embodying this freedom, of cultivating and choosing it into being, has reached a degree of paramount importance. All of the ways in which there is deceit operating in the world, all of the ways in which freedom is suppressed in the world, all of the ways in which illusion tries to weave itself over the eyes of humanity and of the world. All of these things exist within you. And if you want to heal the world, if you want to free the world, the first step is to begin within. To renounce the phantoms, to renounce the parasites, to renounce your consent to illusory systems, to renounce the ways in which you are enmeshed with deceit, to renounce the ways in which you deceive yourself and you cling to that self-deceit in spite of all of your attempts to try to change. And you get into the roots, the energetic roots of the places from which you act in these ways. And you choose your way with discipline, with compassion, with love, and with devotion, and with prayer. Prayerful support from God. And you heal those parts of yourself. And that in itself is a way to become so free that your existence itself is an act of rebellion. That's an apocryphal quote by Albert Camus. I don't think he ever said that, but it's a damn good quote. It's a blessed good quote. It is certainly not damned. And when you live in that freedom, and when you embody that freedom, and when you truly align your actions with your values, align your actions with your ideals, and you rid yourself of all the ways in which you deceive yourself as very best that you can. Sometimes we must recognize our imperfections and recognize that healing is a slow process. And we ask God for grace and for forgiveness when we fall short. But nevertheless, the mind has the ability to set the vision, to set the standard, to set the goal. And slowly but surely, you shed every layer and you approach the divine perfection of absolute reunion with God. Now, it may very well be that this perfection does not reach permanence in this lifetime, that its only permanence exists in the transcendental heaven from which we came. It's possible. But it's also possible that there is a shedding of layers happening, as within, so without, inside of time and outside of time, over time, from the present into the future of our progeny. A shedding of all of these karmic layers of deceit and unfreedom and enslavement and imprisonment. Guiding through divine alignment and remembrance. A reinstantiation of the perfection of the Garden of Eden on earth. Wherein the interdimensional interconnectedness, rooted in perfection and love and divinity and absolute freedom and harmony and purity and respect and kinship, and the innate reciprocity of being, which is present within the ubiquitous presence and beauty of nature. Whether in this lifetime or in multiple lifetimes in the future, human children growing into adult bodies will reclaim that fundamental perception, which is perfection, which comes from God undefiled by any instantiations of deceit or the deceiver or fallenness. It seems to me that with my mind and with my soul and with my heart and with God by my side, I am being guided to choosing this remembrance on behalf of my ancestors and my progeny and of humanity, at least within this microcosm. And I'll be perfectly honest with you. There are fears. There are doubts. There are programs within my mind that say, of course that's not possible. But there is something within my heart. And there is something within my prayer. And there is something within the ancestral depth of my being which not only believes in this possibility with deep and absolute faith, but which believes it absolutely necessary and of paramount importance for me to root myself in this belief and to behave from a state of faith in that belief. This belief being the resurrection of perfection and divinity and peace and freedom universalized within this realm. A tangibility and actualization of these ideals of freedom which we contain, which we speak aloud, and which we all believe in together. Choice. Choice has an ability to alter and to heal reality. And when that choice is prayerfully aligned with God, that is when, in a world where there is so much deceit and illusion and manipulation of wills and shadow and darkness and evil and distortion, this choice to embody this freedom and to hold that pillar of freedom in the world it simply seems to be what God demands, not just of me, but of any human being who wishes to believe in freedom. If we say we believe in freedom and we continue to act in ways that are self-imprisoning and freedom-suppressing, then we are deceiving ourselves, we are deceiving one another, and we are deceiving God. And it is at this stage, at this point, where my mind, which does believe in the possibility of choosing the resurrection, of choosing the reorientation, of choosing the healing, that reaches out to Christ and asks, is this all possible? And will you guide my will if it is?